Treachery, backstabbing, murder. Emmy-winning The Traitors is back for an all-new season.
Here we go again.
Join me for the ultimate game of survival, where making it to the end is a matter of life and death.
This game is torturous.
I can feel my blood pressure rise.
If you carry on with that cocky attitude, you might get yourself in trouble.
Oh, I've missed this.
The Traitors, streaming January the 9th, only on Peacock.
I told him I found the car, and it was like on his birthday. So he was like, well, I can't take you, it's my birthday. So I said, okay. So the night before that, I spent the night with him. And so when I got up the next morning, the money was on the table.
The $800?
Yes, and $100 bill.
This is the plaintiff, Reginald White. He says he used to date the defendant, and they went their separate ways a few months ago. When she asked him to borrow money while they were together, he thought nothing of getting it back. But now that they've split up, he can't get her to pay up. That's right. He stepped up and rescued her in her time of need. And this is the thanks he gets? He's suing for $800, the amount of the loan. This is the defendant, Charmaine Mills. She says she used to mess around with the plaintiff for about 3 years and ended up getting pregnant with his child. He said he would give her $800 to get a new car when hers was wrecked if she spent the night with him, and they did what they did. She doesn't owe him this money back. They had an arrangement. He then cheated on her with someone else. Owe him? No way. She's accused of stiffing her former boyfriend. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,100 for a designer backpack and a diamond ring.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding.
Did you forget my name?
Oh, I got nervous when you came up.
Did you?
Litigants have been sworn.
All right, Mr. White, you are suing Ms. Mills for $800
Yes.
you say she owes you. You are counterclaiming him some items that you left behind. The two of you used to date, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Talk to me, Mr. White. Tell me how you came to loan her $800.
She had wrecked her car, her previous car, and so she needed money to buy a new car. And so she asked me to loan her $800 to get it.
Okay. And when was she supposed to pay you back?
I figured she was going to get the payment within 3 months
Okay.
from the extra coverage that she had.
All right.
'Cause she had talked to them, and they said that they was going to send her the money.
And did they send her the money?
I don't know.
So did you ever ask her for the $800 back?
Yes, I did.
When you asked her for the $800, were you two still dating?
Yes, we were still dating.
Okay, and what did she say?
She just kept giving me excuses why the money didn't come.
Okay, what's the story here, Ms. Mills?
Okay, so me and Reginald was dating. I got sick. I had got pregnant and sick, and I was in the hospital. So prior to that, I had a car accident. So I was waiting for a while to get money, for it to clear off my credit so I could get a new car. So I had money already that was saved up, but I couldn't go back to work. So me and him was talking. We was laid up and we was talking, and I was telling him about it once I found another car. And then he was like, but he was taking me to the auction to get me a car prior to that already. So when it came up, like the process came up, I told him I found the car, and it was like on his birthday. So he was like, well, I can't take you, it's my birthday. So I said, okay. So the night before that, I spent the night with him. And so when I got up the next morning, the money was on the table.
The $800?
Yes, and $100 bill. So during the process or whatever, I was going through, they had sent the check from my insurance company to the finance company and not directly to me. So it was like a process. So he was like, so what you gonna do? I was like, I mean, what? What you want me to do? You my dude. I was going to say something else, but you my dude. Like, what you expect? So I was
wait,
like, okay,
wait,
whatever.
because he's asking you to pay him back?
Yeah, and I'm like, what? You my dude.
And you felt like you shouldn't have to pay him back. Why?
Because he was my boyfriend. We were still together. So after that, he didn't say nothing else about it. So we was cool. He was like, I said, why you asked me for that money? And you was helping me. He was like, well, I was in my feelings. If you give me some, we'll be cool.
Okay, so you owe him the money?
No.
And the reason you don't owe him the money?
Because he asked to sleep with me. We had already stopped talking because he cheated on me. He only doing this because as long as I was still sleeping with him, he never asked again. Then when he found out I was with somebody else and I caught him cheating, now all of a sudden he come with this stuff.
So you feel that you don't owe him the money because...
I asked him to borrow it.
Because he asked you, are you coming home with me tonight? And you said yes. And the $800 was there in the morning like payment for your services?
Well, not exactly the way you said it, but...
Well, that's exactly what you're saying. I mean, you're implying that if you sleep with him, it's never a debt because, hey, you slept with him. So you wiped out the debt by sleeping with him.
He was my boyfriend.
Right. But it sounds like he always expected to get paid back. I mean, you could have... A boyfriend can loan you money. That could happen.
They can, but not when you put stipulations on it.
Well, and so did he put stipulations or did he put no stipulations? It sounds like he said, you got to pay me back.
That's not what he said.
What did he say? If you sleep with me, you don't have to pay me back?
No, he said that he was only asking me for the money because he was in his feelings because I caught him cheating and I wasn't talking to him. That's why he asked me for the money. It wasn't because of that.
All right. Now, you have a counterclaim against him for $1,100 for a Gucci backpack and a diamond cluster ring. Tell me about that.
Okay, so the night that I spent the night with him, I left that at his house. So I had been asking him about it. That didn't have nothing to do with with this so-called loan. It had nothing to do with that. So he was like, oh, I'm not holding your stuff. You can get it. So I'm like, okay, cool. But it never happened like that. All of a sudden, then he started, oh, well, if you give me the money, then you can get your backpack. But prior to that, he was trying to let me get my backpack because he wanted me to come over to his house.
And then what made him stop wanting you to come over to his house?
Oh, he never stopped wanting me to come over to his house.
Well, then why did he change his mind and say, I'll only give this back to you if you pay back the loan?
Because I got a boyfriend.
Oh, so tell me when you got a boyfriend.
I got a boyfriend in November.
And how did he find out about that?
I told him.
And then once you tell him you've got a boyfriend, what happens?
He was calling me. He was texting me to come over and still sleep with him. And I wouldn't. And he was like, I don't care about him. I was like, but that's who I'm with. You messed up with me. So I'm not coming.
Did you cheat on her repeatedly, Mr. White?
No, I didn't.
Did you cheat on her once?
No, I didn't.
Why does she think you did?
Because I was on the phone.
Because I have other friends.
Okay.
Go ahead. You tell me, Ms. Mills.
Okay, so once I got my car and I went back to work, he called me and was like, baby, go come over. And I was like, okay, cool. I get off at 6, so I'll be to you about 7:30, but I'll call you. So I ended up getting off a little later. So when I called him, he has 2 phones. So when I called him on one of his phones, he just exit the call. So the other phone, I called on it. And so when I called it, he was trying to exit the call, but instead he answered it. And I heard the whole conversation for 1 hour and 28 minutes.
You heard an entire conversation for 1 hour and 28 minutes between him and who?
And another lady.
Okay.
Another chick. And she was saying, why you didn't come over? I just seen you pass me. You supposed to came over and all this old crap. Talking about she just cooked some chicken.
How did you stay on the phone for 1 hour and a half hearing that?
Because my feelings was hurt. And I'm like,
I know my feelings are hurt too. I would hang up as soon as I had the evidence I needed to dump them.
I wanted to, because that first day was just like kind of like bull crapping talking. And then it started getting to, well, I'm mad at you. He was like, well, can I make it up to you? And then that's what made me stay on the phone.
Okay.
When you start like kind of pleading.
If you had spoken, would they have heard you?
I don't know.
But you never spoke up, right?
Only once. I was like, hello. And then that's when I heard the girl start talking. So when I heard her start talking, I stopped talking.
And then, so did you ever say, what the hell's going on? Did you ever say anything and let them know you were listening?
Nope, I hung up and I called him back and he lied.
And did you tell him that you heard the whole conversation and tell him everything you heard?
He know I have a good memory. I repeated every last thing.
1 hour and 28 minutes worth of evidence. And what did he say?
All the important stuff. And he was like, nuh-uh, babe, I was pumping my gas. I said, why you didn't answer my phone call? And he was like, oh, I was pumping my gas. I said, well, how was you pumping the gas if you was on the phone with a chick that you supposed to went by her house? And he was like, oh, no, it ain't like that. I mean, you got friends. I said, but I don't lie to you if I'm on the phone with them. but I heard your conversation. That wasn't just a friend. So then, like about a couple of days later or whatever, I pulled up on him and we were talking, and he gonna tell me it was a freaking prank. I said, how's it a prank if I didn't know about it? It's not a freaking prank. Exactly.
Did you want to respond to that, Mr. White?
Yes, it was just a friend. It was just a friend.
Yeah. Do you have her Gucci backpack and her diamond cluster ring that she left there on the night that you guys spent together?
Yes, I do.
And why haven't you returned it to her?
Because I've been asking for my $800 for the longest.
So you're holding it hostage.
I said, as soon as you give me my $800, you can have your stuff, no problem.
Okay, so you're literally holding it hostage.
Yeah, but Judge, he only said that after I got a boyfriend because I still slept with him 3 times.
I didn't care that you had a boyfriend.
Shut up.
I don't care that you have a boyfriend.
Blah, shut up. Because why you still on my Facebook there, watching everything I do, if you don't care?
Because you my friend on Facebook.
Boy, you watch everything I do. Shut up. And you were still asking me to come sleep with you. Now, even
okay, that's something different.
All right, I've had enough. Okay, gotta shut this down. That's something different. All right, you owe him the $800, and I'm entering a judgment against you for you to pay it. I find that it's a loan and not a gift, and the fact that you were sleeping together doesn't change that. $800 is a lot of money. I'm sure that it's a privilege, but $800 is an awful lot of money. And about the backpack and the ring, you are going to be returning the backpack and the ring. You are not holding them hostage, and we'll make arrangements with Officer McIntosh now. That's my verdict.
Thank you.
So the plaintiff prevails, Miss Mills. You're going to have to give him back that $800. You okay with that? What do you think?
Not really, but okay. Just so long as I can get done with him.
If he calls you tonight, what's going to happen?
Oh, no, I'm done. I'm good. I'm in a good place in my life. I got a good boyfriend that don't make me borrow money from him. So I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. It's done.
All right. Good enough. All right, Mr. White, you gathered she's kind of out of your life at this point. Am I right?
Yes.
She's not going to take your calls anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Don't call her. That's the bottom line. All right. And that'll bring this case to a close. Harvey?
Doug, this is a case where the judge said this was a loan, not a gift. If you get money and it's a gift, and you say it's a gift, text the other person and say, thank you for the gift of $800, and especially if they respond. But even if they don't, that cements your position.
Can someone countersue you in court for money you loaned them on the grounds that when you loaned it to them, you knew good and well that they would never be able to pay you back?
It sounds like the question assumes that it's a sort of predatory lending or something. If I lend you money and I have serious doubts about whether you're going to be able to pay me back at the time. And that's simply not true. It's not a predatory act to do that.
Among friends, it's certainly not. I mean,
right. You can't say you made me take the dirty money because no one forced you to take the loan. No one tricked you into taking the loan, presumably, because if you do force somebody into taking a loan, that's a crime. If you trick them through fraud, that's a crime. If you charge them an interest rate that's higher than what's legal within your state, that may be a crime, but it'll also be a defense where you won't be able to collect anything above the maximum statutory
And in some states, you won't be able to collect the debt.
Yeah, some states might bar you from collecting the debt altogether, exactly. But in this scenario,
I don't think a friend telling a friend, you knew I was a ne'er-do-well and I'd never have the money. I'd never again make another nickel and I could never pay you back. That's just silly.
You know, you better be ready to pay back the money or figure out a way or don't borrow it.
We're so done with New Year, New You. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
This is the plaintiff, William Smith. He says the defendants are his former landlords, and boy, were they terrible. The house was in bad shape. The lawn sprinklers watered the driveway, not the grass, and all his complaints fell on deaf ears. He says he didn't want to waste water, so he shut them off, and now that he's moved out, the defendants refuse to return his security, claiming the lawn is damaged. Huh? He's suing for $5,000, the amount he's owed. These are the defendants, Sonia and Benny Binstock. Sonia says the plaintiff rented their newly renovated house, and the lease states he was responsible for maintaining the lawn. The plaintiff never complained they weren't working properly. If he had, they would have repaired them, and they're just and right in keeping his security to pay for all the damage he caused. They're accused of being all wet.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that the defendants, his landlords, left the place he rented in a state of disrepair. And now, after the plaintiff has moved out, the defendants won't return the security deposit. What? The defendants claim the guy was responsible for maintaining the house. He neglected it. They have every right to keep his money. It's the case of I owe you nothing.
I have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, represented here by Mr. Smith. You are suing Mr. and Mrs. Binstock, your former landlords, for $5,000 in a security deposit that they have, according to you, unlawfully not returned. Tell me what happened.
Yes, we moved in on September 2016. We had 2 dogs. I had a son and a wife.
Okay, so you rented there for how many years?
6 years.
And then what?
We put down our security deposit for $5,000, paid our $2,900 of rent for, 6 years. And we intermittently had issues with the place, with air conditioning and things like that, but they were very accommodating. But the one issue was the sprinklers and the landscape. They were never really working properly in the front yard or the backyard. They were watering the driveway, they were watering the side of the wall in the backyard. So we were wasting a lot of water, and some of the heads weren't working. And the gardeners, the first gardener was great, but they really came and just trimmed the trees and mowed the lawn and never did any work on the sprinklers. They would turn them on. Once they would come on, we'd see that there was some flooding or some sprinklers pointed the different direction.
But this isn't like a really this is like a super easy thing to fix. I don't get it. Did you ever complain to Mr. and Mrs. Binstock?
Yeah, we did. We said the sprinklers aren't working, the timer wasn't working, it was off. And we told the gardeners that as they kept turning them on, they said, the sprinklers aren't working. So we basically turned them off.
Do you have any evidence of, if they're not working, why do you have to turn them off?
Well, they're not working, meaning that they're spraying water every which way. And
okay, do you have any evidence of having told the Binstocks this?
Other than a phone call or something, no.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Binstock, who wants to speak, Sonia or Benny?
Sonia. I guess I will.
Okay. Did you or your husband ever receive a complaint about the sprinklers?
We were aware of every so often the sprinklers having issues. This is why we had a gardener. But it was mostly complaints about air conditioning. I
don't care about the air conditioning. I am targeting the sprinkler issue because I'm trying to see how, I've seen the pictures. There is no lawn at your house, and there used to be a beautiful lawn, and I'm wondering how we get from point A to point B.
By not watering.
Well, yes, or by not fixing broken sprinklers. It's going to be one or the other. See this beautiful, lush green lawn when you move in, Mr. Smith, and then this when you move out. Yeah, that's a problem. And so the question becomes, is it a problem because you folks didn't fix the sprinklers after being notified, or your gardeners didn't fix the sprinklers after being notified, or is it a problem because he wants to save money on water and he turns them off?
I think it's the latter, because even if there was a problem with a sprinkler, there would be a head. and the gardeners were on top of it. So their instruction was to fix whatever was wrong if there was an issue, because we certainly don't want to have to replace the lawn. So that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
So if there was that was their duty. That's what they did. That's what we.
I mean, there was
for.
never a time when the Binstocks weren't paying a gardener. So, Mr. Smith, why shouldn't I believe that maybe you're turning off the water, especially when you tell me, well, I'd turn it off because it wasn't working anyway. And on something so nonsensical like the direction of the water. I mean, I've been known to just, switch them myself. I don't know what kind of sprinkler system you have there and what these heads cost. You are keeping a very substantial amount of money, though, on this issue, Ms. Binstock. $5,000 of a security deposit? How come?
No, actually, it's not 5 because it's we did return a check for $1,650.
You're right. I apologize. Correct. I forgot about that. Is $1,650 the correct figure?
Yes.
Okay. So yes. It's $3,350. Now, I see an estimate from, I guess, a lawn guy.
Yes. Well, he's all around. guy.
Yeah, I can tell because
it's people did the yeah.
Yeah,
he did the plumbings and everything, and Bill knows him very well, and he's a very reputable guy.
Are you asking for this whole $2,500 from his security deposit?
No.
How much are you asking for?
Okay, so the amount that was withheld is for the grass and also for the broken tile.
Okay, no, we're going to get to the tile and we're going to get to the door jam in a minute. How much are you asking for the lawn issue?
Okay, so it would be, so he separated only that. So Eduardo's not very good at putting down information very clearly. So the repairs to the tile.
No, hold on with the tile.
Hang on, it was.
All I want to know is the grass. How much of the lawn issue do you think he's responsible for? Because what you handed me was $2,500, and there's a bunch of things here a tenant's not responsible for.
Welcome back to the People's Court. So the question, is this a case of the tenant retaliating against his landlords, or were the landlords to blame? Let's go into the courtroom and find out. Tree
trimming is gardener work. That's your issue. It's not his.
Well, okay. What I was trying to say was that it was that amount minus the $850. So since we didn't do the math, the $850 was charged for the tile and the door casing that had to be replaced.
Okay. And so now, can you answer my question, which is, so what you're saying is $3,350 minus $850 is the amount for the lawn. And that would be $2,500, which is what this receipt says. Let's see the receipt, okay? And this receipt for $2,500 includes a bunch of stuff that is not a tenant responsibility, such as new sprinkler timers. You see it? It's right there. New sprinkler tires, tree trimming.
Yes.
Okay, tree trimming. So you're not going to get $2,500. It's not appropriate for you to withhold $2,500 for the lawn issue. Yes, I tend to agree with you that this is a matter of deciding you're not going to water the lawn, and there's a consequence for that. But the consequence is not $2,500. Now let's talk about the door jamb. Apparently, Mr. Smith, you put one of those pull-up things in the door jamb. Is that correct?
Yeah, you just place it. You don't install it. You just place it up there. Yes.
And did it do some damage in the door jamb?
No.
Okay, let's see the picture of it. What's this a picture of, Mr. Smith?
That's an indentation into the
you think maybe the tension rod did that?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
so it did do damage.
Did. Yeah.
Oh, so then it did do damage. You said no, but it did do damage.
I didn't think it did, but
you had to see that when you took the pole out. You had to see that it did that damage. Did you fix it before you left, or you left it that way?
No, we didn't fix it.
Okay. Now, also, let's talk about the tile damage that you wanted to show me, Mr. and Mrs. Binstock. Let's start with this. This is in what room?
Kitchen. It's all in the kitchen.
So how did these chip? Did something drop on them, Mr. Smith?
Probably. We were there for 6 years, so probably yes.
Although, and I get it was a long time. It's not a one-year lease or anything, but I don't know if I'd call this wear and tear as opposed to damage. I think I would call that damage. But again, what did your handyman do? Did he replace the tiles?
He replaced it.
So you had some extras.
We had extras.
Right.
Yes, they were in the garage.
And how do you figure $850 for the door jamb and the replacement of the tiles? Where's the receipt for that? I'd like to see proof that you paid Eduardo $3,350.
You have a receipt for $5,000 and $1,500.
Yeah, but that includes a bunch of other work. I wanted,
but
yeah.
he never separated it. I'm sorry. That's how he.
I think you guys are overreaching a little. I do. All right. I'm going to allow you to keep $1,000 for the lawn, $500 for the damage. That's $1,500. That means that of the $5,000 that was in his security deposit, you have a right to keep $1,500 and return $3,500. Instead, you returned $1,650, which means that you still owe Mr. Smith $1,850. Verdict for Mr. Smith.
Mr. Benstock, how do you feel about the judge's decision? You got to give that back to the plaintiff. What do you think about it?
Well, it's costing much more than that. Unfortunately, the receipts don't explain it very well because they're clumped together. So since we can't itemize it as clearly as it should be, I guess it is what it is.
You know what's amazing here, though? That lawn looks so terrible, Mr. Smith. It reflects on you. It makes it look like you just didn't give a damn about where you look. You know? Did you ever think about it that way?
Well, it didn't. We did give a damn, and we were very respectful of their home. But the repeated malfunctioning of the sprinklers was not our responsibility. And the gardeners, there was a language barrier, obviously, and they did not tend to the sprinklers or the landscape. They just literally went in, mowed the lawn, trimmed some of the trees,
mow and blow,
and that was it.
Did you ever try and fix a sprinkler yourself? You know, it's not that hard.
Well, I mean, it's number one, it's not my responsibility to do that, and number two, there was so many that weren't working properly that no, I didn't want to do that. I don't own the house, so no.
Yeah, all right. Well, you live there, and it really reflects on you. Good luck to you, okay? Hope you don't have lawn problems in your next place. And that'll bring this case to a close. What do you think, Harvey?
So, Doug, make sure if you rent a place, especially a house, that you know who is responsible for maintaining it. You know, we're talking about the lawn, who's responsible for watering it, fertilizing it, who's responsible for the inside. If you put all of that in the lease and make it very specific, you likely will not end up in court.
Marilyn, have you ever gotten sick and thought you had COVID? And have you taken a rapid test, and do you keep those things at your house?
Oh, you think? You know, they test us a lot here at People's Court, so we're tested constantly, you and I. And,
almost like every other day.
Yeah, right? Maybe, I don't know, feels like it's more than that.
I just got tested like 15 minutes ago.
I just got tested 15 minutes ago. I had something up my nose. Yes, I have. I was afraid just recently because I felt really sick. I felt really tired, and my daughter tested positive. Right. So I marched everybody in cars to my doctor's office. You were all like, this is unnecessary. I'm like, everybody's going, and everybody's getting tested. And Sophie had tested positive in a rapid test that came from the store. And then that morning, all of us took a rapid test, and everyone, including Sophie, was negative.
That's right.
But I was sick and Sophie was sick, so we just stayed home anyway. We get our PCR 6 days later when the stay-at-home thing is now 5 days, so no matter what, it was what it was. And the PCR was negative for everyone but Sophie. So she got positive, negative, positive PCR, and I apparently didn't have it. So I want to recount, and I think they're wrong, but who knows?
I'm the worst about going to the doctor or going to a hospital when you're sick. I didn't go for like 3 or 4 days after my heart attack in 2017.
Yeah.
Right? And when I had pneumonia...
When you had a 99% occlusion of the widowmaker, but you wouldn't go to the doctor.
Yeah, I figured they'd kill me at the hospital. But anyway, when I had pneumonia a few years ago, I lost like 15 pounds before one day. I said, maybe I should go to the hospital.
No, you didn't say maybe I should go to the hospital. I forced you to go right into the ER because it was just too much.
Yeah.
And, you're the worst about that. You are.
That's true.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 40% off select styles, plus a free professional measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is the plaintiff, Reed Dotson. He says he was rear-ended by the carelessly driving defendant, and his entire truck is now bashed in. He also lost 10 days of sleep due to back pain caused by the defendant's negligence, and he's here suing him for the $5,000 he surely owed. This is the defendant, Harvey Paul Caudill. He says the unsafe plaintiff cut him off illegally and he hit into him. This happened 2 years ago. The guy was fine after the fender bender. Now, all of a sudden, he's being sued? That sounds fishy to him. He's accused of following too closely.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says he was rear-ended by the defendant. Now he can't sleep and he has back pain. But the defendant says the plaintiff illegally cut him off and was at fault for the accident, so he owes nada. It's the case of "you're a pain in my rear."
I've been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. All right, Mr. Dotson, you are suing Mr. Caudill for $5,000 for a traffic accident that happened some time ago. Tell me what happened here.
Yes, ma'am. I was simply sitting at the light. That's all I was doing. And the defendant hit me from behind. It's expressed clearly in the police report. It's the best way to describe it. I was just simply sitting at the light.
Okay. So, Mr. Caudill, how did the accident happen?
I was coming over the intersection held and stated. A person cut me off. I was in the right-hand lane, and I avoided trying to hit her. I swerved out into the left-hand lane, and Mr. Dotson popped out in front of me, and I had no time to stop. Therefore, I hit him. Okay, the police did you say that story on that day? Because the police gave you a citation for rear-ending him. Yes, so I'm not sure they bought the popped up out of nowhere, two people popping up out of nowhere. I don't think they bought that. What happened with the ticket? The ticket, I took care of the ticket within 2 weeks. Oh, you paid it? Yes. Okay. You are suing Mr. Dotson for $3,000 for loss of sleep for 10 days. Explain. This is the most creative thing I've ever seen in a lawsuit, so I want to understand it. I don't really know how to place a value on a good night's sleep. To me, it's worth $500, but other people I've asked said it was worth $200 or $300. To me, a good night's sleep is worth $500. And then if I cannot get a good night's sleep based on the defendant's actions, well, then he should be made to pay. I'm putting it in your capable hands. Yes, you're not going to like the result of my capable handling of it. But why would you? Do you have any independent documentation of this loss of sleep? Like, did you see a doctor about insomnia or anything like that? Well, no, it wasn't the loss of sleep because of insomnia, ma'am. It was loss of sleep because my back was injured. I'm a 50-year-old man. Okay, so did you see a doctor? So then you're a 50-year-old man with a back injury, you're saying, which I understand. So did you see a doctor? No, ma'am, I didn't because I didn't want to accrue additional medical expenses for them to take a $3,000 x-ray to tell me my back wasn't broken. It was soft tissue damage. I've had injuries before, and I just didn't feel it was prudent to accrue medical bills for something but when you come to court, you kind of have to have proof of what you're saying. I mean, at what speed did this happen? 25 miles an hour. Yeah. So his insurance did cover the damage to your truck. You're here suing for loss of sleep and for loss of the use of the truck and the amount the insurance company should have paid you for car rental. Now, you didn't actually expend any money in renting a truck, did you? No, ma'am. However, almost 3 months had passed prior to the date of the accident to the point where the insurance company had made me whole. So during that 3 months' time, I was simply out of the use of the truck or it was at my peril. Right. So how did you work? What did you do for those 3 months? I was able to curb some of the loss of the use of the vehicle because I have a little trailer that I pull behind a Volvo station wagon. So during the time I didn't have use of the truck, but at least I was able to carry on with my other vehicle and the trailer. Okay, so you didn't spend any money on rental,
but you feel that it's inappropriate for them not to compensate you for loss of use, even though you've already settled with the insurance company for the car portion of this, not the injury portion, but the car portion. Mr. Caudill, let me hear from you. What would you like to respond to this lawsuit, Mr. Dotson?
Here's my statement. You had 2 years from the date of the accident to make an injury claim. I didn't receive a notice till the 30th of December of 2022. That accident happened on September the 17th of 2019.
Okay, and what's your response to that, Mr. Dotson?
Well, I was attempting to negotiate with his insurance company, and his insurance company should have made me whole. They did extend an offer.
It's actually academic, Mr. Caudill, because although you would be normally right, there's been an extension due to COVID of an additional 4 months. So he's still within the statute of limitations.
I did not know.
So what's your next argument? But good one. What's your next argument?
Well, I didn't have one to begin with, you know what I mean, other than the fact that he just waited 2 years plus to file anything.
3,000 of his 5,000 is for loss of sleep. 1,000 is for loss of use of the truck, and 1,000 is for renting a car he didn't rent. Aside from not having any evidence of these things, me knowing that you had other transportation, me knowing that when you say you were trying to negotiate with them, they offered you like 1,000 something for your quote injuries, and $1,250, and you rejected it. And so you're rolling the dice here today. So here you are in small claims trying to collect without any medical evidence whatsoever on the $3,000, and on the 1,000 and 1,000. One could argue that that would be duplicative, right? If you were entitled to it, one could say, well, how is it that you're going to get the money to rent it, but also get the money to not have a car available? But more importantly, why wouldn't the part about the car have already been handled when you took the settlement from the insurance company on the part about the car?
Actually, the 2 separate $1,000 amounts, only one of those $1,000 amounts is related to the car and or rental. The other $1,000 is for my pain and suffering around Christmas time.
That's not how it's listed in your lawsuit, but let's go with your theory. Let's do that.
I'm sorry.
All right, the 1,000 for your pain and suffering. Do you have a stitch of evidence that you were injured in this accident? Because I've had lots of accidents. Sometimes you get injured and sometimes you don't.
Ma'am, I swore to tell the whole truth.
Oh, honey, everybody says that every day in front of me. Both sides swear to tell the truth, and half the time the two stories are from different planets. That, you know, you understand I'm a judge, and I deal in evidence and proof. I mean, people can't just come and say, I want 5,000, I've been injured. You've got to show me that there's some injury, something. I mean, there's literally zero here.
On the police report, if you look up at the upper right, it does say the injury possible.
Okay, injury's possible. I'll grant you that. But here's what happens when you come to court. You have to prove to me not that it's possible. You have to prove to me that it actually is true. You have to prove to me that it is more likely than not the evidence is in your favor that what you're telling me actually happened. I mean, the fact that you're trying to ascribe money for your loss of sleep and then money for this and money for that, you should have taken what the insurance company offered you, because you're not going to get anything here. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Dotson, let me ask you how you feel about the judge's decision.
Well, it's the judge's decision. It's her decision, and I stand by it. If that's her decision, everyone will move on.
You kind of have to. You kind of rolled the dice to come to court rather than accepting what you were offered by the insurance company.
I roll the dice every day by getting in my vehicle.
Well, that's true. Do you wish now you had taken what they offered you?
Not necessarily.
Really? Okay. All right.
It's not about the money.
Where did you come up with $500 for what, for loss of sleep?
It was an arbitrary number. How much is a good night's sleep worth to you?
I don't know. I've never tried to price it out, but I wanted to learn from you.
That's what I was hoping we would find out here today.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well,
that's all right, buddy.
Okay,
Thanks, Doug.
we know what the judge thinks. Mr. Claudel, I guess you're breathing a little sigh of relief. Am I right?
Yes, sir, I very much am, because, this jumped out of nowhere at me. And I stand by the judge's decision.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Okay, congratulations, then. You're off the hook.
Thank you.
Very good. Harvey, what are you thinking?
So, Doug, in this case, the defendant got a ticket, a citation. Here's the thing about that. The police decision to cite somebody is not binding on the judge. The police weren't even there. So it's the police's opinion. They are allowed to enforce that. But when a case goes to court, the judge can consider what the police said, but that is not what guides the judge.
Since I know they have all girls, if they would have had a boy, what name would they have chosen and why? So I'm going to throw that one at you, Marilyn. What do you think?
I know what name I would have liked. Obviously, we would have discussed it. It never came up because we knew what each of our children were before they came.
Right.
But your name happens to be John Charles.
Right.
And that is an actual complete name in Spanish, Juan Carlos.
Right.
And Juan Carlos, like the
King of Spain.
El Rey de España.
was Juan Carlos.
And and then the nickname for most Juan Carlos is their JC.
Right.
So I think I would have put that out there and let that marinate. What would you have wanted?
I probably would have. My ego would have said, "I'm going to bite on that one."
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do with a boy. Three
That's
girls.
true.